At the forest trail, my daughter froze and whispered, "Daddy, someone's knocking under there," pointing at disturbed earth. We dug frantically and found a woman buried alive who gasped, "I have no one, but if I die, the child will never know," before collapsing in my arms. I had no idea I'd just rescued one of the most powerful CEOs in America, or that her would-be killer was about to discover they'd targeted the wrong family. The midday sun filtered through pine branches as I explored the trail with my 6-year-old daughter Mia. What started as a perfect father-daughter hike turned into something that would change our lives forever, when Mia's exceptionally sharp hearing picked up rhythmic tapping from beneath freshly disturbed soil. Inside that makeshift wooden box was Isabel Caraway, CEO of Caraway Financial Group. She was a woman worth over $200 million who'd been drugged and buried alive by her trusted executive assistant, Robert Lawson. What Lawson didn't know was that he'd just made the biggest mistake of his life by targeting someone under the protection of Logan Hartley. Most people saw me as just another forest ranger living quietly in a cabin with my daughter after losing my wife Emily 6 years ago. What they didn't see was my background as a former Special Forces reconnaissance specialist who'd spent 8 years in military intelligence before transitioning to civilian life. My skills in surveillance, tactical planning, and threat assessment hadn't disappeared. They'd simply been dormant, waiting for the right moment to resurface. As I carried Isabel to my truck, my tactical mind was already processing the situation, the precise burial location, the professional construction of the box, the timing. This wasn't random violence. This was an execution attempt by someone with resources and planning capability. Someone who was about to learn they'd severely underestimated their target's new guardian. Back at my cabin, as Isabel recovered, I began my own investigation. My military contacts weren't just ceremonial. They included Marcus Webb, now a senior investigator with the FBI's Financial Crimes Division, and Jennifer Hayes, a former military intelligence officer who now ran a private security firm specializing in corporate investigations. These weren't casual acquaintances. They were professionals who owed me favors from our service days. While Isabel slept, I made 3 crucial phone calls. First to Marcus. "I need a priority background check on Robert Lawson, executive assistant at Caraway Financial, full financial profile, associates, recent activities. This is code red." Military veterans have their own language, and Marcus understood immediately that someone's life was at stake. Second call went to Jennifer. "I need complete surveillance reports on Caraway Financial's executive floor, personnel movement, security protocols, after-hours access. I also need a tactical assessment of their building's vulnerabilities." Within 4 hours, I had detailed intelligence reports that would have cost a corporation $50,000. Third call was to Dr. Rebecca Stone, a forensic accountant who specialized in uncovering financial fraud for major corporations. Rebecca had helped me navigate the complex financial arrangements needed when Emily was dying, and she understood that family came first. "Logan, if you need forensic accounting analysis, I'll drop everything. What are we looking at?" By the time Isabel was fully conscious, I had a complete tactical picture. Robert Lawson had been systematically embezzling from the charitable foundation. Not the $20 million Isabel suspected, but over $47 million across 3 years. He'd created a network of shell companies, fake initiatives, and offshore accounts that would have impressed international money launderers. But Lawson had made critical errors that my team had already identified. He'd used the same attorney for multiple shell companies, created obvious financial patterns that Rebecca's analysis immediately flagged, and most damaging of all, he'd left digital fingerprints that Jennifer's surveillance had captured. We had evidence of Lawson accessing Isabel's private files, meeting with known criminals, and transferring money on the very day Isabel disappeared. When Isabel finally told me who she was, I didn't reveal what I already knew. Instead, I let her believe she was protecting me by not sharing everything. This wasn't kindness. It was tactical advantage. The more Lawson underestimated the resources aligned against him, the more mistakes he'd make. "You need time to plan," I told her. "Stay here as long as you need, but understand that while you're planning, I'm already 3 steps ahead." What Isabel didn't know was that I'd already contacted investigative journalist Michael Torres, not through normal channels, but through my military network. Torres specialized in exposing corporate corruption and had been investigating Caraway Financial for months as part of a larger story about charity fraud. My intelligence gave him exactly what he needed to build an airtight case. While Isabel thought she was hiding and planning, I was orchestrating a comprehensive takedown. Marcus had opened an official FBI investigation into the financial irregularities. Jennifer had placed Lawson under discreet surveillance, documenting his increasingly erratic behavior as he realized his perfect crime was unraveling. Rebecca had prepared forensic evidence that would satisfy any court in the country. The beauty of having professional military contacts is that they understand operational security and strategic patience. While amateur investigations leave traces, professional ones are invisible until the moment they strike. Lawson had no idea that every phone call he made, every financial transaction, every meeting was being documented by federal investigators. 3 weeks after the rescue, I finally revealed my real capabilities to Isabel. You've been planning to confront Lawson directly, wearing a recording device. That's not planning. That's gambling with your life. Let me show you what real strategic planning looks like. I spread out Jennifer's surveillance reports, Rebecca's forensic analysis, and Marcus's FBI documentation across my kitchen table. Isabel stared at the comprehensive intelligence package, dozens of photos, financial records, transcribed conversations, and legal documents. "You're not a forest ranger," she whispered, studying the professional quality surveillance photos of Lawson meeting with criminal associates. "I'm a forest ranger now," I corrected. "But I used to specialize in finding people who didn't want to be found and stopping people who needed to be stopped. Robert Lawson falls into both categories." The tactical plan I'd developed didn't rely on dangerous confrontations or risky recording devices. Instead, it was a precision strike designed to destroy Lawson completely while keeping Isabel safe. Marcus would execute coordinated raids on Lawson's shell companies and offshore accounts. Rebecca would present forensic evidence to the board of directors, demonstrating that Lawson had stolen enough money to bankrupt the charitable foundation. Torres would publish a comprehensive exposé, detailing not just the embezzlement, but Lawson's attempted murder of his own CEO. "But you'll miss the satisfaction of confronting him personally," I explained to Isabel. "Instead, you'll have something better. The satisfaction of watching him realize he's been completely outmaneuvered by people he never suspected existed." The operation launched on a Tuesday morning while Lawson was in his office, confident that he'd successfully eliminated the only threat to his scheme. At exactly 9 a.m., FBI agents raided his apartment and 3 shell company offices simultaneously. Rebecca presented the board with evidence of $47 million in theft. Torres's article went live online with the headline, "Caraway Financial CEO Survives Murder Attempt, Exposes Massive Fraud." By noon, Lawson was in federal custody facing charges of embezzlement, attempted murder, money laundering, and conspiracy. His assets were frozen, his associates were under investigation, and his professional reputation was destroyed so completely that he'd never work in finance again. But the most satisfying moment came when Lawson finally understood what had happened to him. Jennifer's surveillance equipment had captured his phone call to his lawyer. "I don't understand how they found everything. It's like they had a team of professionals investigating me for months." His lawyer's response was equally revealing. "Robert, this wasn't just law enforcement. Someone with serious intelligence capabilities wanted you destroyed. The financial recovery exceeded even my projections. Rebecca's forensic work helped the FBI recover $52 million, not only what Lawson stole, but additional funds from his criminal network. The Caraway Financial Board voted unanimously to reinstate Isabel as CEO with expanded authority. The charitable foundation received the largest fraud recovery in its history. Lawson received a 15-year federal sentence with no possibility of parole. His co-conspirators received sentences ranging from 5 to 10 years. Every asset they had accumulated through their crimes was seized and returned to the victims. Their families lost their homes, their social standing, and their financial security. A complete reversal of fortunes that lasted for years. 6 months later, as Isabel and I watched the news coverage of Lawson's final sentencing hearing, she asked the question I'd been expecting. How long did it take you to plan all of this?" "About 6 hours after we found you," I admitted. "The rest was just execution and patience." She looked at me with new understanding. "You weren't protecting me by hiding your capabilities. You were protecting the operation." Exactly. Lawson thought he was dealing with a naive CEO and a simple forest ranger. He never suspected he was up against federal investigators, forensic accountants, surveillance specialists, and investigative journalists. By the time he realized the scope of what he was facing, it was already over. A year later, Isabel and I stood at the spot in the forest where Mia had first heard the knocking. We'd marked it with a circle of white stones, transforming a place of intended murder into something meaningful. Mia had suggested we call it the listening place, where important things could be heard if you paid attention. "You know what I learned from all this?" Isabel said, taking my hand. "What's that?" "The people who look the most harmless are often the most dangerous to cross." Robert Lawson thought he was burying his problems in these woods. Instead, he was burying his future. I smiled, thinking of all the underestimated people I'd served with. Quiet professionals who could topple governments or save lives with equal efficiency. The best operators never look like operators. That's what makes them effective. As we walked back toward our home, because it was truly our home now, I thought about the lesson Lawson had learned too late. When you target someone for destruction, you better make sure you understand who's really in their corner. He'd seen a woman alone and vulnerable, easy prey for his schemes. He never saw the network of professionals, the years of military training, the strategic mind that had been waiting for exactly the right moment to demonstrate why some people should never be underestimated. The forest ranger and his daughter hadn't just rescued a CEO. They'd dismantled an entire criminal operation so thoroughly that it could never threaten anyone again. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even. It's being so far ahead of your enemies that they never realize they've already lost until it's far too late to matter.